We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
There's nothing more frustrating than buying new clothes, then finding problems with them when you get home. Those new shoes that have already got a scuff on the heels. The ripped jeans that are already torn to shreds. Or that super expensive waterproof jacket that just doesn't keep you dry. Well, here's some good news. You may have parted with your hard-earned cash, but as soon as you've entered into a contract with the seller, you have rights. The Sale of Goods Act states that any item you buy from a trader, someone selling goods as a business, such as a shop or online shop, must be of satisfactory quality, fit for purpose, and as described. If it isn't, the item is faulty, and you should contact the trader as soon as possible, because you can usually get a repair, replacement, or refund. So next time you buy clothes, check them out as soon as possible. And if you find a fault with any item of clothing, don't wear them, contact the trader, or take them back as soon as possible. And if you're unsure of where you stand, check your legal rights, so you can have confidence when you buy. Find out more at adviceguide.org.uk or call the Citizens Advice Consumer Service on 08.
I'm your host, Buddy Kunana. Now, tonight's show is about business, and that video you saw from the UK Free Trade Office is a perfect introduction to tonight's topic, which is consumer rights. You know, folks, we're all consumers. We all buy goods and services in our daily lives, and while there are many laws in place to protect manufacturing and labor, consumers also have rights that can, are, and should be protected. Now, the objective of tonight's show is, number one, to inform you about your rights as consumers, and number two, to tell you about the best ways on how you can hold these rights. And joining us to illuminate us on the topic of consumer rights are, from my right, we have Grace Chua, and she is the President of Consumer Rights for Safe Food, and Ms. Velma Lim, who is the Executive Director of the National Consumer Affairs Council. Welcome, ladies, to Philippines Uncut. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Now, as by way of introductions, let's start with you, Gigi. Let's talk about your position and your organization, the Consumer Rights for Safe Food. Tell us about this org.
Okay, Consumer Rights for Safe Food has been in existence for about 3 years already. It started out, a few of us heard this talk on GMOs, and we were very shocked about the prospect of eating GMOs and not being
Genetically
protected.
modified
Oh,
organisms.
yes, sorry. Genetically modified organisms.
Okay.
And we saw how dangerous it could be for our health, and yet there were no protection for consumers, and we don't even know if we have eaten this or not. So we decided to put up Consumer Rights for Safe Food. And after thinking about GMOs, we also saw that there were many things in our food which we didn't know about, you know, or we have to be protected against, like additives, colorings, or even if they say vitamin enriched. What are those things? We as consumers, we don't know. So in Consumer Rights for Safe Food, we try to educate people. We don't have all the answers. We are not a group that tells you this product is good or this product is bad. But what we are saying is, for you as a consumer, you have to know. You have to study. You have to research. And you have to choose your food according to what is healthy for you and your family.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad there are organizations like this now that are helping consumers, I said, educating them on what is out there, and
Yes.
what is safe, what is perhaps not safe, and
Yes.
how big are your, who are your members? How big is your organization?
Well, when we give talks, we give a lot of talks, and after that they sign up, and then we have this Google group, we have this Facebook, we have emails and all that. So it's very hard to know exactly how many people are in our organization right now.
Yes.
But those signed up in our Google group is about 600 from all over the country.
You have a Facebook page as well where people can get more information
Yes.
about
Yes,
consumer rights for safe
and
food. Now,
share their knowledge also, because we
Yes.
don't know everything.
Yes.
So it's a very active Facebook page.
Yes.
A lot of people are sharing their.
Now, what are your major activities these days? I mean, what are your major advocacies? If you can name the top advocacies that you guys are really pushing and promoting.
Well, the number one really is the genetically modified organisms.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the we want though to be not only to say no, don't eat this, but the question is, so what do you eat? So we are now advocating organics, and we also are trying to put up a project for schools. We believe that good eating habits start with young people, and you just don't start it at home, because when they get to school and they see all the junk food, then what you're teaching at home is being contradicted in school. So we are trying to put together a blueprint for schools to change into what we call a happy food canteen.
Excellent. So you're really in the thick of protecting the consumers and making sure that what they eat, what is available for them to put on the dinner table is
Yes.
really safe and
Yes.
consumable.
Because
Yes.
we really believe that the power of consumers is really in our buying power. We also lobby in Congress, but that takes a long time. Although we really have to change the laws, to protect consumers more. But faster than that is our buying power. If we don't buy something because we know it's bad, then it will be taken out of the shelves.
Of course. I mean, the manufacturers and the retailers will respond.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, let's move over to Ms. Lim. Ms. Lim, you're the Executive Director of the National Consumer Affairs Council, or NCAC for short. Tell us a little bit about yourself and this organization that you represent.
Yeah, Betty, I'm the officer in charge now of NCAC. So I used to be with the DENR, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So for more than 2 years now, I administer the day-to-day operation of NCAC. What about NCAC? It has been created by virtue of RA 7394, otherwise known as the Consumer Act of the Philippines. And what's the Consumer Act of the Philippines? This provides for the policy of the state of protecting the interests of consumers, of course the promotion of their general well-being, and likewise to encourage business and industry fair standards of conduct. And of course, knowing too well that the creation of NCAC hinges on the passage of RA 7394 as its legal basis. Of course, we have to work hand in hand with the member agencies of NCAC, and these are the DTI, DA, the DOH, DepEd,
Okay.
and of course the inclusion of the DENR and the DOE as ex-officio members. And we also have members from the private sector, and these are consumer sector and the business and industry. We have 4 organizations from the consumer side, and from the business and industry sector we have 2. So we have appointed by the President 4 consumer organizations, and these are the Nationwide Association of Consumers Incorporated. We have the Coalition of Consumer Welfare and Protection. We have the National Federation of Women's Clubs of the Philippines. And of course, the consumer organization being represented by our Vice Chair, Ma'am Jaji Chua, and that's the Consumer Rights for Safe Food.
Wow.
And of course, from the business and industry, we have the Phil Baking and, of course, the Philippine Retailers Association. So that's a big
Yes, it sounds like a
group
big
in
pie,
itself, yeah.
Ms. Lim. Now, this NCAC sounds like it has really a big mandate, a lot of a big job to do, big shoes to fill. So, I mean, okay, when people talk about consumer rights and consumer issues, people automatically think DTI. And so, NCAC, what is DTI's relationship to NCAC? You said DTI is a member organization for NCAC. So, does DTI fall underneath NCAC in this regard?
Well, under the Consumer Act of the Philippines, one of its implementing agency members is the DTI.
Okay.
And as it is now, we are placed under the admin supervision of the DTI because there is no law or order creating NCAC to be placed under any government agency. And considering the semblance of the mandate of the DTI with NCAC, we were placed to be under the DTI.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the main job of NCAC is really to look after the consumer rights and
Consumer
interests.
protection programs of agencies.
Okay. So would you say NCAC is more of a policy formulating body or a policy coordinating body rather than an executive sort of?
Yeah, you're right, Barry. NCAC has its oversight function over member agencies like the DTI, DOH. Of course, we have the DepEd, and other agencies of government charged with consumer protection programs,
Yes.
including also enforcement of consumer-related laws.
Okay. Wow.
And of course, on top of it is our role as a vital policy-making body.
Okay.
And of course, we have such powers and functions like to rationalize and coordinate the functions of these implementing agencies and other agencies of government, which I have already mentioned to you a while ago. And of course, we also have this function on recommending policies or legislation or amendments to existing ones. Like for instance, the proposal to amend RA 7394
Okay.
and other consumer protection laws. Like for instance, we have the EPIRA, energy, what's P?
Yes. I mean, but it has to do with
the EPIRA law,
regulating
yeah,
the
electricity.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, we have also the Tobacco Regulation Act and the rest of the other implementing laws of government.
To bring this down to layperson's understanding, so what you're saying is that if there is a group there that feels that their rights as consumers are not being protected, not or being abused,
Yeah.
for instance, they can approach NCAC.
Of course,
And NCAC can study the case, and you can then, if there is if there is a violation of rights in whatever area or field, you can then instruct the concerned government agency to attend to this, to address the situation. This is what NCAC can do.
Yeah, we actually, along that line, we can also intercede on behalf of the complainants.
Okay.
So referrals are also being made if there are complaints being lodged to NCAC.
Okay, good. Excellent. I mean, it's nice to know that an organization like this exists, so at least consumers have a body to run to when they feel aggrieved.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about the state of consumer protection in the Philippines. How would you describe it? Let's start with you, Gigi.
Okay. Before I got into the NCAC, I felt I was a pretty empowered consumer. And
what does that mean, being a pretty empowered consumer? Like you know about your
I
rights?
know about my rights.
Or you felt you knew about your rights?
Hindi ako maluloko.
Okay.
Ganyan, no? And, and I was not really aware of what the government was doing for me. In fact, I had that impression na parang bakit sa Pilipinas walang power ang consumers. But now that I'm in NCAC, I see that a lot of government agencies are actually doing a lot of things behind our consciousness. No, it's being done. But still the level of consumer awareness or power is still very low. And I have experienced this a lot, no? Like little things, like for example, my car battery died before 1 year.
Dami, may warranty yan.
Warranty,
Yes.
1 year, di ba?
Yes.
So, wow, I found my warranty. No? I kept it. So, pinadala ko, balik. Sabi, where is your resibo? I'm looking, saan ang resibo
Siyempre,
ko?
yung resibo, I mean, sometimes you really lose track of these
Yeah,
things.
because syempre, you have to give it to your accountant and
Sure.
ganyan, no? So, and then I remembered, I had a brochure from DTI that said, either a warranty or a resibo is enough. You don't have to have both.
Wow.
Okay, so I looked, I saw the brochure, sent it back, and then I said, pag hindi niyo pinalitan yung aking
Battery,
baterya,
yes.
susumbong ko kayo sa DTI. And in how many minutes, the manager himself was calling me and
Tingnan
was
mo yan,
saying, oh, saan ba nanggaling tong brochure na to? Pwede ba itago ko na lang? So like things like that. So now I know. And many other things that has happened to me.
So like in both ways, no? I mean, consumer awareness is very low, as you mentioned, but also from the part of the retailer. A lot of retailers don't know exactly what the consumers are entitled to. Or so maybe
yeah.
they make their own rules as they go along. I mean, in the case of the battery salesman, he was asking for the brochure from DTI, which you quoted.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously he didn't know about it.
I think also for some stores, maybe, no, they know that the Filipino is not a complainant. I mean, yung parang tayo, pwede ko bang ibalik ito? Ay,
Wag
sorry
na lang,
po,
wag na
hindi
lang,
pwede.
oo.
Okay.
Wag na lang,
Diba?
oo,
Wag na
yes.
lang. Or do I have the right? Sorry po, hindi. Okay. Hindi tayo, hindi, pero kailangan, di ba? We don't fight for our rights.
Kulang sa assertiveness.
Yes,
So what
yes.
they do is, they tell you, hindi ho pwede. And they get away with it. So,
It's become part of the culture na rin. I mean,
Yeah.
ingrained in the culture. So much so that, as you mentioned, consumers don't really, in general, maybe compared to let's say American consumers, where
Yes.
they're very, vigilant,
yes.
very strong, very
Assertive.
assertive. So Philippine consumers, well, it goes with the
Mabait.
natural culture as well. We're not a confrontational people, right?
Yes, yes.
Very Asian,
Yes.
very Asian. What do you have to say about that, Ms. Lim?
Yeah, of course, Filipinos by nature daw are kumbaga sort of parang that passive. Kaya ang tendency nga ng mga business establishments ma-exploit sila, yung ganun, mapagsamantalahan. But nowadays, parang nafe-feel namin na habang tumatagal ay dumadami yung mga nagfa-file ng complaints.
But how fast are these complaints acted on? Let's say sa case ni Gigi, yung sa kanyang battery, let's say talagang nagmatigas yung may-ari ng store. Sabi niya, hindi pwede. Wala yung resibo mo, pues hindi ko papalitan yung battery mo. And she went now to let's say Uncut and complained. How fast is the system, the grievance system?
Well, on the part of the DTI, they have already adopted a comprehensive system of complaints handling. So parang within a number of days, they were able, parang yung mga na-handle nila ng mga complaints, they were able to have that resolved. Meaning to say, na-address lahat yung ganon. Hindi lang manner of accepting the complaints, but kumbaga talagang thoroughly na napapag-aralan and na-address yung ganon, nare-resolve.
Meron bang penalties for let's say these erring retailers na halimbawa ayaw sundin
Yung batas.
Yung batas.
Oo.
Halimbawa, kung ako yung manager ng maybe a small battery shop in Banawe, for instance. Pag sinabi sa akin ni Gigi, dadalhin ko sa DTI, sabihin ko, sige, dadalhin mo. Di ba?
Yes.
Sa DTI. Ano yung penalty?
But covered kasi ng
are there
sa
penalties
batas.
behind this?
Yeah, of course there are penal provisions, di ba? Yung penalty sanction. Pero pag pinag-aralan natin kung anong nature or type of complaint, magva-vary din yun, di ba? Iba-iba naman ang nature ng complaints Kung gravity ang offense na nakomit ng isang business establishment o ng isang retailer, sigun yun kung ano yung klase ng parusa, di ba? But hindi naman na nare-reach yung ganong yung level na nagkakaroon pa ng kasuhan. Immediately nare-resolve yan. So, it's kumbaga a matter of kumbaga parang a conference na pinapatawag yung both parties. Kung sino yung complainant and even yung concerned na business establishment.
Yes.
So right there and then talaga nare-resolve yung
Kanina
complaint.
we were in a talk. It's Consumer Month today, so there was an activity today, and DTI mentioned, I think they said 90% of the complaints that they got were handled within 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
pretty good.
that's what
Pretty
they
good.
said kanina.
I wish the justice system were like that. Di ba?
10 plus.
Yes.
10 days.
Yes.
That's good.
Within a period. Yeah.
I was thinking more of like 3 months or something. But 10 days, that's stellar.
Yes.
Stellar by Philippine standards, I have to say.
Yeah.
That. Okay, now, and that's another problem because here in this country, like, possibly consumers don't stand up for their rights because they say, and it's too much trouble.
Yeah.
In your case, let's say with your battery, if the manager of the shop had stood firm and said no, I won't replace your battery without a receipt, would you really have gone to DTI and reported him and all those things? Gone to Makati, filled up the forms, submitted them. I mean, would you have done that as a consumer?
Now that I'm with the NCAC, of course I would do it. But before, maybe I would think about it, no? And then you would think, what's going to happen? Am I wasting my time? But pleasantly, I found out that no, the government is doing a lot of things. And
Behind
they have
the scenes.
all these programs in the different agencies of the government behind the scenes. So maybe it's worth it to complain. So again, in the program kanina, they said, sure, you have your rights as a consumer, but you also have the responsibility to be organized, to complain, to know what your rights are, to know what is due to you.
And this is exactly why the American consumers are so powerful, the lobby group, because number one, they are organized, and number two, the awareness of what your rights are as consumers is so high, and number three, as you mentioned, they really take action. I mean, they really stand up for the principle of it.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Lim, in your case, Gigi, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things that the government is doing behind the scenes, so to speak, to protect consumer rights. What are some of these things that we don't see, that is not apparent, hindi natin nakikita, hindi natin naririnig masyado, pero ginagawa ng gobyerno para tulungan ang ating mga consumers?
Gaya nga nang na-mention ni Ma'am Gigi, we have the basic consumer rights and responsibilities. So, now what are these? These are yung right to basic needs, which is the right which guarantees human survival, adequate food, clothing, sanitation, including education. We also have the right to safety, that is safeguarding our consumers from hazards to health and safety. We also have the right to choose. It's understandable. We have the right to information, the right to representation, which means to say that we really have to ventilate what we have in order for us to be able to get involved in the execution of plans or policies by legislators. We also have the right to consumer education, to get the right information, and of course we have the right to a healthy environment.
But what's the government doing to promote awareness of these rights with the public?
We normally conduct seminars, consumer empowerment seminars, and along that line, NCAC is, kumbaga, continuing its mandate under the Consumer Act of the Philippines, which is conducting continuing consumer education.
Alam mo, very effective there. And before the show started, we showed a video, and that is from the UK Free Trade Office, which I assume is under the UK, the counterpart DTI agency in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And is there any plan, are there plans afoot to go, let's say, to have infomercials about consumer rights and responsibility?
DTI has already been, it has already launched this project on infomercial. So it has already been placed in the cinemas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that is way back 2010 pa.
Yes, because it's very effective.
So that's very effective.
Especially if you have like in this series on videos on YouTube by the UK Free Trade Office, it has everything from consumers who are buying, let's say, clothes, electronic goods, food, appliances, and furniture.
Yeah.
So all that, they have like short snippets, maybe 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, and they actually deal with real life situations.
Yeah.
So I think that's very effective. What do you think, Gigi?
Yeah. Like I know there are radio programs, they guest. DTI has its own radio program where people can call, like that. And you were asking kanina, what are these concrete things that the government is doing now we don't notice? For example, they look at the prices. They keep tab on the prices of basic commodities. Tapos yung mga pangsukat ng when you buy 1 kilo of this, they check on those
of course, inspectors
kilo, yung mga
go on and make sure that there's no hanky-panky with the scales.
Even the gasoline, if you buy 10 liters ba talaga yun? All of these things are checked by the government.
Okay. Well, we have to pause for a break, Gigi.
Yeah.
Guys, don't go away because in a few moments more of consumer rights, your rights, and Philippines Uncut return.